So, in the actual note video, I talked for a really long time and I realized I wasn't going to have enough time to talk about the fish that I think are super cool. So, we're making our own video about just some cool fish. So, yeah, let's talk about some fish. So, the first fish that I want to kind of show and tell is these guys right here. This is in the group Chondrichthyes. And these are your cartilaginous fish. So, they don't have scales. They're kind of a lower class of fish. They have a skeleton that's made of cartilage, like your nose or your ears. And these guys are super rad because of a couple of things. First of all, they don't have a swim bladder, which means that if they stop swimming, they start sinking. Okay, so they don't have a good way to raise and lower themselves in the water, so they have to kind of keep swimming all the time. This right here, this no swim bladder, is one of the reasons why like sharks are so muscular, is because they can't just chill in the water. They have to, be able to powerfully move themselves up or down. It's also the reason why these sawfish and these manta rays and skates, these guys are usually on the bottom because it's a lot easier for them to just chill on the bottom. They also have no operculum. Okay, so what the operculum is, if you've ever taken a fish out of water or seen a fish taken out of water, they start doing this with their gills. Okay, this bone is called the operculum. And the purpose of that is so that when the fish is just chilling in the water, it can be doing this with its operculum, and it can be sucking fresh water over the gills. It's how they breathe. So that's why whenever you pull him up out of the water, he starts trying to breathe. It's him like gasping. Okay, these guys don't have an operculum, which means that they have to always be swimming. They can't stop. If they stop, they have to hold their breath. And this is one of the reasons why you will never see a shark or a ray or a sawfish or a guitarfish or any sort of chondrichthyes in a square tank at the aquarium. Because if they hit a corner, they're going to die. Because they don't really have a good way to go backwards, because why would they? So they're always in these big round tanks so that they can continually swim in circles over and over and over, because they have to keep moving or else they will suffocate, which is pretty rad. Okay. Ooh, yes. Let's talk about hagfish. So hagfish are one of the really most simple fish. They don't have fins, they don't have scales, they barely have gills, they have those gill slits. They are really kind of like the crappiest fish. Now, hagfish are detritivores, which means that they eat dead stuff. And one of the adaptations that they have to make it easier for them to do this is they have slime glands, which you can see this guy here, like he's touching it and it's starting to just like sweat out this oozy, slimy stuff. Now, not only is that going to help them get away from predators, it makes them hard to grab onto, but it's actually going to help them. Okay, they don't have a bottom jaw. They are the agnathans. So it's really difficult for them to chew through something. So when they need to get at something and start eating it, they're going to twist their body around like this and just kind of like, they're kind of trying to basically do what a screw would do, is twist their way in. And all of these slime glands will lubricate that and make it easier for them to bore their way into whatever it is they're trying to eat. Yeah, I just think that this is so gross. Look at how slimy he is. They're neat. Okay. Yes. Okay. So the next group that I want to talk about is the Sarcopterygii. Excuse me. These guys are really rad. They are almost not fish. Okay. So for the most part, fish, their fins are just like spines. Okay, so it's kind of like a fan that has tissue in between, and then they, swim with it, but there's no actual bone in the fin itself. Sarcopterygii have bones in their fins, which you can kind of see here. His fin is not just this spiny stuff out here, it also includes this weird lobe thingy. Okay, And what they have right around in here is a collection of bones that looks a lot like a wrist, which is crazy. So it actually affects how they move, because instead of swimming most of the time, they kind of do this weird walking thing. So they like to walk on the bottom, and they can actually come up on land. And so that's what this guy's doing right here, is he's walking around up on land. And crazy enough, they have fully functioning lungs, like lungs. Now, they still have gills, which you can see his operculum right here covering the gills, but they don't use them. And they're actually a lot smaller and a lot crappier than the other fish gills because they're on the way out. So it's kind of like the same as like your appendix or your wisdom teeth. These are no longer used, so they're kind of starting to go away. So, we're gonna get into, we won't have time. So, whatever. These guys are the stepping stone from fish to amphibians. So this guy is basically a salamander, which is kind of rad. Okay. Ooh, our next group that I want to talk about, or our next fish that I want to talk about, is the sturgeon. Look at this guy. Isn't he rad? They are huge. They routinely get up to be like, 7 or 8 feet long. They weigh like a couple 100 pounds. They are massive. And their scales are actually really, really, really strong. So much so that they're analogous to bone. So they are almost like they're armored. These guys live forever. They routinely live over 100 years. It takes them about 15 years, I think, to reach sexual maturity. So they kind of live the same life as a human. They spend the first, 14, 15 years being a kid, and then like they reach sexual maturity and they can start reproducing. They're rad. Another thing about these guys is that they live in like really crazy environments. So they really like to live at the bottom of the lake, at the bottom of, the really deep, really, really deep pond, because those bony scales give them the protection that they need. So these guys can live just like, 600 feet below the water. No problem. Ooh, yes. This is a paddlefish. I've actually caught one of these. It was super rad. We caught it in a net when I was in college. We would go out to this place called Bell Slough, and we would take these big nets and we would drag the slough and we would drag the river and we would drag the creeks and the ponds in the area, and we would just like catch all these cool, we caught a sturgeon there, we caught a bunch of mud puppies, and one time we caught a paddlefish and it was super rad. That was also the place where my female professor, we dredged up a cottonmouth. Like we accidentally caught him in the net and it started like, striking at the children, and so she just like walked over and just like grabbed it and just like threw it into the woods, and it was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And that was the moment that I decided that I wanted to be just like her, because that was rad. She just like barehanded a cottonmouth and just like threw it into the woods. It was cool. Anyway, so paddlefish are super rad. There's the fish, but they have this big thing on the end of their face. It's their nose, and it comes out to, it looks like a boat paddle. And what it is it contains electroreceptors. So paddlefish live in really dirty, really low oxygen, like really low quality water. And this right here allows them to see what is going on. So their eyes are not very much use because they live in real dirty water, real still water. So this right here, these electroreceptors can actually sense the electricity of other fish, and that's how they hunt. So it's kind of like a metal detector, but it's a fish detector. So they just kind of swim around with waving their nose around, and when they find a fish, they'll snap it. They're cool. They also get really big too. The one that we caught was relatively small. It was probably about 2 feet long. But they get pretty big. They get 5-6 feet, no problem. Okay. Oh yeah. And real quick, with the exception, this is an ocean fish. These are ocean fish. This is an ocean fish. These guys are in Arkansas. 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 Like, a lot of these fish are in Arkansas. We have a really diverse state, and it's super rad. Okay, so I want to talk about gars and bowfins. So this is a bowfin up here. Bowfin are super adorable. I love them. They have this eye spot on the back, which allows them to like evade predators because like bigger fish can't tell which side is the face. So like sometimes they'll go for this side and he can swim away. I have been talking for a long time about fish. Woof. Sorry, I got really excited. Okay, this down here is a gar. You probably are familiar with gars. This is a relatively smaller one. The gars that I have seen in like rivers and stuff and like lakes are usually about 2 feet long-ish. They usually are, you know, kind of about here. Hear my dog freak out. This guy's pretty small. But the cool thing about gars and bowfins is they really like to live in water that is crappy. They like to live in muddy, dirty, like slow-moving water, which means that that water has not got a lot of oxygen in it. So their swim bladder, the thing that helps them move up and down in the water, is vascularized, which means that it has blood vessels that go to it. So what they will do is they will swim up to the surface and they will gulp air to fill up their swim bladder, and then they'll go back down and they can actually get oxygen out of the air using their swim bladder, which is super cool. But that's how they are able to live in this really low oxygenated water, is because they also are kind of breathing air. Ooh, okay. This guy's an oarfish. These do not live in Arkansas. These live in the ocean. Oarfish are super cool. They're huge. You can catch them on Animal Crossing. That's what I've been doing with my time. But they're super cool. I think that they look like sea monsters, and I think that that's maybe where some myths of sea monsters have come from, is because this is not unusual for an oarfish to be this long. They get even longer. They're super cool. And they kind of look like just a big ribbon, and they're just neat. They live in the ocean. Yes, oarfish. Ooh, anglerfish. These guys, I love these guys. I hope that you guys already know this because it's super rad. Anglerfish are the ones that, you know, have the light and from Finding Nemo and whatever. This is a female, and all of them that look like this are female. The males are really little, and like, if this is the female, the male is probably like only that big-ish, okay? And when they mate for life. The male and the female, they mate for life because the male will chew his way into her side and become a part of her. So you'll have the female, and I'm looking, and this one does not have one. They're usually like in this area behind this fin, which again, you can see this fin has bones in it and kind of a wrist. Cool. But they'll usually be back behind these fin areas, back in here, maybe on like the stomach. But they will burrow into her flesh. They will attach into her blood flow, and they will just live there like a parasite. And she will just pull from them sperm whenever she wants to have a baby. So it's kind of cool. The males are all basically parasitic. Oh my God, yes. Okay, so this is a mola mola, or an ocean sunfish. And these guys, I cannot tell you about it because it has lots and lots of swear words, but you should go and Google Mola Mola Facebook rant or Ocean Sunfish Facebook rant. It is hilarious. There is a oceanologist somewhere that absolutely hates these guys and has like the funniest Facebook rant I've ever read in my whole life. I wish I could read it to you. It has way too many swear words. But you guys should go check that out because it cracks me up every time I read it. These guys are crazy. They're huge. They're basically just like a giant ocean pancake. And this is not an abnormal size for them. And look at their stupid little fins, and they're just really funny to look at. Okay, so those are my cool fish. Sorry if you were bored enough to watch this video. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.